Hello, guys. This is Dylan with Checkmate Vanguard. It's been a long time. I guess we kind of took a break after Standard kind of ended. I imagine you guys didn't want to see more Standard content, so overdress has finally arrived. This is week 2 here at Rivals Gaming of overdress for real, for real. And so I figured to give a week everyone to kind of tune their decks and kind of get ready. And so we have Kelland here, who won locals tonight. He won with what deck did you play?
I played Baromagnes tonight.
Baromagnes. All right. So go over to ride deck, please.
All right, so ride deck, general starter, basically all the overdress starters are pretty much the same. I run one of Deep Sonicer in the ride deck just because you ride on top of the starter and then it gets you a free soul charge.
Okay.
And when you go second, it's basically just a +1 because you get resource and you get to draw. Electro Spartan, mainly because of its first effect. When you ride on Baromagnes, you can put a card from hand and soul, draw a card, and then soul charge 1. So you're basically just doing a lot of filtering and a lot of just adding whatever cards you need into your soul.
And finally, the man himself.
And then finally, honestly, one of, in my opinion, the best cards in overdress right now, Baromagnes. His effect is kind of ridiculous. His effect is a late V effect, honestly.
If you're a fan of the Scharhot and Vampir, like, you'll have no problem loving Baromagnes.
Right, it's kind of like that because it's just it's 5 in soul. You draw a card when you attack. 10 in soul, you get a critical in 10k.
It's safe to say this is Scharhot.
It's literally Scharhot, except it also messes with your opponent's board.
And also gains crit and all that whole board shenanigans. So the stuff from like Brufus, of retiring and crits and all that. Add that into it, and now what you have is Baromagnes.
Right, it's kind of insane. This deck is so fun, honestly, and it's like.
Okay.
Honestly, it's kind of like inconsistent, but as long as it pops off, it can be explosive.
Just soul charge a fuck ton of cards.
All right, so triggers, obviously the one over trigger for Dark States because it's just a free 10k in the crit for the rest of the game.
It's an over trigger.
It's an over trigger. It's exactly what you expected. I run 7 crit.
7 crit?
Yeah, personally. I mainly keep crits at 7 because I like to have more draws because this deck really has a problem with like having enough cards in hand to do things.
Okay.
And 4 draw after that.
4 draw, interesting. No fronts at all?
I do not run fronts in this deck personally, and then just 4 heal triggers after that because obviously you need heal triggers in any deck.
Okay.
All right, so that's
does this deck usually normally have an issue with like cards in hand?
Yeah, sometimes it does, and it's like either you're soul charging a lot of triggers anyway because of just how much you're doing things, or a lot of times you'll just have no cards and just be missing triggers a lot.
Okay, so grade ones?
All right, grade ones, I have 3 of Steam Gunner Gunrum, excuse me. He's just a soul charger on place, and then you can soul blast 3 and draw a card.
So if you overshoot 15, you can just kind of use that excess and draw a card.
Yeah, it's like a lot of times you can use him late game to just get a free card in hand.
Really nice.
When you already have like enough in hand. After that, I run just 2 of Deep Sonicer in the main deck because when he's on rear guard, he gets a free 10k if you have more than 10 in the soul.
It's not bad though.
And then, well, yeah, because like especially if you call this after using Baromagnes' skill from soul, you just have free 28k attackers.
Yeah, that's really good though.
And then I run
The one of
Direful Doll Simone, mainly because she's somewhat guard restrict and forces your opponent to overguard some attacks.
Is she like a Battle Dory where you have to call 2?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's just kind of useful sometimes, like when you don't need multi-attacks, you just need to get cards out of your opponent's hand. 3 of Brother's Soul. This is just probably one of the best orders in the game because it's literally just a free soul charge too.
Do you play 4 or do you keep playing 3?
I keep playing 3 because a lot of times, since orders are only once per turn,
right?
You don't really want to have too many in your hand at the start of the game.
And then you also have the grade 3 order that also soul charges.
Right.
Okay. So grade 2s then? Or no,
that,
PGs
yeah,
of course,
4
right?
PGs because you need
Given.
PGs in your deck.
It's a given.
It's a given. So that's it for the grade 1s.
Grade 2s?
Grade 2s, I run 3 of Electro Spartan because when he's placed on rear guard, you can just counterblast 1 and soul charge 2.
Not bad.
It's basically free like early game soul charging if you have him in hand at start.
And you cycle him out with?
You cycle him out with honestly the best card in the deck, if you ask me, Selfish Engraver.
It's really good.
It's a soul charger when it hits, and then even if it doesn't hit, if you have more than 10 in soul, it's a counter charge, and you put it in the soul.
Oh, it's just super good.
So it's like, even if you miss soul charging with her effect, it's such a good card.
Being able to countercharge at ease is a really nice thing.
Right, I agree. and just like having that freedom is really powerful because, especially with Baromagnes' main effect.
Yeah, let's talk about that later with Baromagnes.
Right. So for grade 3s, I run 4 Phantasmal Magician Curtis.
Is he important?
I'd say so because whenever Baromagnes is your Vanguard, you soul charge 2 when he's placed.
Okay.
And then you can counterblast 2 and give the whole front row 5k if you have an excess counterblast.
Do you use that skill?
Sometimes. It kind of works hand in hand with Selfish Engraver.
Okay.
Because a lot of times you can just refill your counterblast to make use of that more.
Okay.
And it's extremely useful.
And then your grade 3 order there.
My grade 3 order, Crawl You Insects. It's the best order
It's a
in the game,
wild
honestly.
order.
So it's counterblast 1 to play it, and then soul charge, choose 1 unit, and it gets 10k for every 5 cards in the soul.
That's so weird.
And then you draw a card if you have more than 10.
That's easy.
Yeah, so basically you just give this to a rear. It becomes huge because it usually just gets 30k. And even if you don't, it gets 20k.
That's so dumb.
And it's just like, it's such a powerful order, and it's like, it's kind of high. This whole deck is kind of high roll.
But all the effects are just insanely good.
Right, and then obviously for Persona Rides, I run 3 more Baromagnes.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it for the deck.
So, let's talk about the interaction with Selfish Engraver and all the countercharge stuff, or
All right.
counterblasting. So, like, tell us about, like, Selfish Engraver and, like, Baromagnes.
So basically, when you're on Baromagnes, you have Selfish Engraver, and then usually like one of these guys on the field on your main I have 15 soul right now turn.
Okay.
So basically, this gets to attack, and then you get to, a lot of times people will just damage deny you in Baromagnes because it's pretty easy to do. So you attack with this, and then you just have a free countercharge to use Baromagnes' effect.
So you can just play around with 1 or 2 counterblasts for most of the game, just as long as you see those.
Yeah, I had a match today where my opponent attacked the wrong rear guard and attacked into my grade 1 that I usually call from Baromagnes' effect. And not this, because I was at 4 damage, and I could not go higher because he had critical on both of his rear guards.
That's weird.
And then after that, I just countercharged and then used Baromagnes and won the game off that.
Is there like any unsung heroes in this deck that you kind of want to highlight? Like anything that overperformed extremely well for you today? Like orders wise, or like...
Honestly, like the main order, that pretty much just kind of makes the deck even better is just the main grade 3 order.
Okay.
Honestly, I just really like the way that it interacts with the deck and gives everything more power on board.
Is that worth bumping to 4?
Probably not. I'd say.
Probably not.
because
Okay.
It's either you're trading one of your Gunrums out for it, or you're trading Simone out for it.
Is it just a discussion, like mainly like it's either discard father or you use it kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
And
I
if you
think
see
it's-
too many, then you have to use it for discard father, and it's like, well, fuck, there's one last one I can use later in the game.
Right. The issue is
But-
this deck makes you make decisions with discarding because you're either
Okay.
missing advantage most of the time or
And the great thing, like you say about writing the draws instead of that, is that you can discard the draws instead of those orders, and so you can kind of keep them.
Right.
So turn after turn, when you go into the long game, you can keep reusing those orders, aka when you tuck in Selfish Engraver, then you have another Counterblast at play. So I think there's very good stuff.
right. It's honestly, there's a lot of good stuff going on in this deck, and I feel
What's the best beater in there? Like, what's the best thing you could put up?
so. The best beater, honestly, is Deep Sonicer, just because
Just free.
it's a free. It gets 10k when you have 10 or more in the soul. It gets 10k when you call it from Baromagnes' effects,
And
then
10K
it gets 10k
for
from
Persona Road.
Ride.
That's 38.
So this is a 38k beater, and that's not counting triggers.
It's too bad there's not like a grade 2 that does that kind of power climb too. It's like,
Yeah, but it kind of makes sense because having a grade 2 would mean you have an interceptor next turn, and I think that would kind of just be.
that'd be
I wouldn't
really
say
good.
broken, but it would be.
That'd be-
It would make less room in the deck, basically.
Right. So that's mainly. So let's just talk about some deck matchups. Did you have anything that really was like making you sweat today, or really make you work hard? Any tough matchups?
The main problem matchup I had today. I sweated in a few matchups, because I basically fought against either high roll decks that were super consistent or
Bastion.
and honestly, I think this deck's hardest matchup is Bastion. Honestly,
Because of the relentless attacking.
just relentless attacking, and then they have enough cards in hand from Alden and other cards like that just let them keep calling cards down.
As long as they don't have to as long as they don't have to keep recalling their board, they're just gonna really outlast you, and it sucks.
Right, and then with decks like Zorga, they can use their Order to Soul Blast and basically return the cards that I put into their soul. It kind of makes things hard.
So how do you feel about overdress in general? Just to kind of close out this discussion.
Honestly, I think overdress it's really fun right now. It's really balanced, despite how a lot of decks may seem.
There's never, to me, it never feels like it's a walk in the park kind of thing.
Yeah, it never feels like there's truly a matchup where it's like this is like absolutely free for one deck and then broken for it.
I was playtesting Thursday, and then my friend was playing the Bruce trial deck, and I was playing full power Virena, and he's somehow holding pace with me. And I'm like, how is this even possible?
Yeah, like I remember seeing, I think, one of the matchups I played today was Bruce Zorga, and I was just like, this kind of seems like it would be kind of free for Zorga, but then it was like, oh, my deck is actually like doing good in this matchup.
Was there times where you felt like the overtrigger decided a game for you, or kind of broke games for you?
A couple times, because in game one of finals, I miracle healed and then got another overtrigger when Virena restood.
It's a double heal in a way.
Yeah, and then other times it's like, because on Persona Ride that becomes a 43k.
It's pretty
43k with 3 crit. And it's super powerful.
Man, that's really tough.
And it's like, especially with the Dark States Overtrigger, just giving you extra power and critical for the entire game.
So normally when your opponent's like at 3 and you're like, okay, I'm going to take the Baromagnes crit 2 and be like, okay, oh well, we're just going to take a chance, and then you hit the overtrigger and it's like, yeah, now I'm dead.
That's basically just game. But it's like, a lot of times, a lot of decks, like, their overtriggers are basically one and done.
Okay.
But like, the Dark State's overtrigger being a lasting effect really
persistent.
Really makes this deck powerful.
At the trade-off, you don't Persona Ride, but your Vanguard's always the same power in additional
Your Vanguard is
crit,
always at a constant power, and with an additional crit.
Which helps out in guarding in the long run.
It's really good.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing and stuff. I appreciate it, helping out the channel and kind of getting the word out there about overdress.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me, man. It was great.
All right, this is Dylan with Checkmate Vanguard, and this is Kelland with Baromagnes, and we thank you, and we'll see you all next time. Hey peeps, Dylan with Checkmate Vanguard here. Cardfight Vanguard Overdress is now here. We look forward to releasing more deck profiles and epic matches in this new year of Vanguard. Thanks to Rivals Gaming for the support, as well as our entire locals community.